Well, Ryan, welcome to the episode 1 of the Treasure Valley Business Podcast.
Yeah, episode 1.
So,
Cool.
thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So, you're with ServiceMasters, right?
I am. I'm with ServiceMaster Restore here in Nampa. Um, we basically are the only one in Canyon County, but there are a couple of us here in the valley.
Okay.
Yep.
How long have you been with them for?
I've been with them for just over a year and a half. So last January of 2023 is when I started with them.
Cool.
Yeah.
What's your role within ServiceMasters? What do you do?
So my title right now is the marketing and sales manager. And basically a part of my job is going out and talking with insurance agents and anybody else who would really benefit from like what we do, right? Restoration, fire, water, mold, remediation, stuff like that. And then I also do a lot of community outreach stuff, and that's kind of more the direction that I'm going as we hired a salesperson to come and do a lot of like the sales type stuff. So I'm moving into more of like home shows and getting out there and doing like bigger events and education and stuff like that, which is really truly what I'm passionate about, is educating people on how important it is when you see a little bit of water or you have something going on your either commercial or residential property and have a question and have us come look at it.
Yeah. There you go. So, I know you from BNI. We're in the what the Caldwell 2C grind set chapter in BNI. Love that group. 7 a.m. on Thursday morning, 7 to 8:30 in the morning is when we meet. So
sharp.
If you guys want to come, just come check us out.
Yep.
Every Thursday at Homes of Idaho. Yeah, Homes of Idaho. Homes of Idaho, next to Indian Creek Steakhouse.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So, Ryan, where are you from? Are you from the Valley originally, or where are you from?
So I grew up in Eastern Idaho. So that's where I'm originally from. I was actually born in Florida, so I can't say I was born and raised in Idaho.
What part?
Where I was born in Florida?
Yeah.
I was born in Orlando.
Okay.
I was born at the naval base there. My dad is Navy, and he was going to nuclear power school. And so I was born there. 2 months after I was born, he graduated from school, and his first orders was in Arco, Idaho, where there's a nuclear power plant. And so both of my parents were kind of shocked because they grew up in Northern California. Here we are in Florida, Navy, right? Water, ocean, and then now we're like in the desert in Eastern Idaho. So it was a little shocking for my parents when they were like, "Oh, where's the ocean?" So we moved over to basically anywhere from Chubbuck, Pocatello, Idaho Falls. But I ended up growing up in St. Anthony. It's a tiny town north of Idaho Falls.
That's where they got all the sand dunes, right?
It is really, yeah. And I had no idea those were famous until I left and came back. And I say, "Oh, I'm from St. Anthony." And people are like, "Oh, the sand dunes?" And I'm like, "Oh, I guess so. Yeah, like they're actually really famous. They're kind of a big deal." So, and then Henry's Lake, I also didn't know was a big deal either. We just grew up there fishing. In fact, more annoyed when we were forced to go there.
Yeah.
Because, it was like, oh, why can't we just go like over to Henry's Fork on the river?
Yeah.
The Henry's Fork of the Snake. And no, but now I look at it and I was like, oh, we were actually really, really lucky. So to be over there. But I left when I was 19. I moved to Northern California, where my family is from. Everybody had migrated back there because that's where everyone's from. I lived there for about 18 years, where I met my husband and we had 2 sons. And then in 2019, we decided to move to Western Idaho, over to the Treasure Valley. So I've been here now 5 years. And I can say that I've definitely lived in Idaho more than any other state in the country.
Which one's been your favorite so far?
I really only lived in 2 states other than like Florida, which I have no experience with. But I would say Idaho's probably my favorite. I mean, there's things about California that I loved. I mean, I am actually a 6th generation Californian. So even though I grew up in the state of Idaho, I don't have roots here like that. My roots are, before California was a state, back in the early 1800s, when my family migrated from Tennessee in the South down there, Virginia, Tennessee, and they migrated to California because of the gold rush and San Francisco. And so they ended up moving over there. So really that's like, just a lot, which is really cool as far as family history, all the different generations when I go to the cemeteries there. And we're in pretty thick through there. So, but I like Idaho because I like the Four Seasons the best. Yeah.
I've only been to California like twice. You knock out the Four Seasons over there, or what?
Maybe if you live in like Tahoe area, maybe because you could get snow there. But most of the time, on where we came from is about 30 minutes from the ocean, so it's pretty much like rain or no rain.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really kind of it.
Kind of like Seattle and everything.
Yeah, a lot less rain though. But yeah, kind of the same thing there. It's like sunny and it can be cold there, but it's not like here where it like rolls into the next season and just different.
You got that gradual change.
Right. It's like when we get this big chunk of heat here, like it's hot, and then we know that fall's coming, it's going to cool off and be all pretty. And then we know the snow is coming and Christmas is coming. And then we know that it's going to be spring, which is like every season and every day in the springtime in Idaho. And then we're back to summer. And so California is much more milder climate than that. Yeah. So it's a lot easier if you're not interested in like snow or all like the drastic seasons. You just like everything to kind of be even killed. And that's in Northern California. If you were in San Diego area, which is in Southern California, it's like almost mild year round. It's totally chill. So I could see where that would be. And I could see where people would like that. But I like all the seasons because I like the mountains. So I don't know. But maybe just because I grew up in it that I longed for it when I lived out in California, like all the time. And I didn't realize that until I moved back here and realized how much I really, truly missed it.
I remember, so I grew up in Colorado most of my life.
Yeah.
And I remember, I think I was in like 6th or 7th grade. I was in middle school at the time. And this girl in my class, she just moved up from Arizona. And it snowed this day. And she's like, I've never seen snow before.
Wow.
And, like, other than like the movies or whatever. But yeah, I've never seen snow. And I was just like, at the time, I actually hated snow. I was I didn't like the cold and everything. And then I got into skiing a couple of years ago. And now I'm like, okay, I just want all the snow to come.
You didn't grow up skiing?
No.
Wow. In Colorado?
I went skiing when I was like 7 years old. I remember we started going down a hill and I ran into a tree. And then my mom had to get the ski patrol to come and ride us down. I didn't ski again until I was like 21 years old. And then after that, I just kept going skiing. I bought a pair of skis for my friend for like $50. I just walked into his apartment. I was like, hey, dude, I'm going to buy these from you. Like, I think I actually gave him or offered him $25. And he's like, I'll do it for 50. I was like, okay. So I Venmoed him right there. And he's like, dadgum, I should have asked for more. And then I only got the skis, so I had to buy some boots. So I bought like a pair of boots, but it came with the skis and poles because it's from Facebook Marketplace. And then I never even used those skis or boots or anything. Really? And then I just went and bought like all new gear the next year, and that's what I've been doing since. So
I love skiing. We grew up skiing, so I didn't do that in California. I didn't ski for like 18 years basically, and then we moved here in the first winter of 2019. I'm like, oh, maybe I should like go because I wanted my boys to know how to ski and snowboard. So I gave them the option at that time. I prefer skiing just because I know I can do it. Right, snowboarding would be a new sport for me, and I was like, I don't want to do it. I'll do skiing. So, but the boys chose snowboarding. So while they were doing their lessons, which Bogus has great lessons up there for beginners, and it's really reasonably priced. Anyways, and then I rented skis that day. Now I own my own skis, but at the time I rented skis. And I'm like, oh, should I do a lesson? I'm like, nah. I just got on the ski lift and rode all the way to the top. And I was like, and I got it all, ready to go. And I'm looking downhill and I'm like, it's like riding a bike, right? Like, I'll just figure it out, right? And sure enough, just boom. And it was like I was on it last winter. So I really never forgot. So, yeah, because I was thinking like, oh, man, 18 years, I might have to do a lesson. I don't know. But actually, it was funny. There was actually a ski school up there when I got up at the top. So I was like, well, I'll just kind of like hang around these people and like listen to what the instructors are saying, like a free lesson, And they were like, all right, do your pizza slice. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I can do this. This is fine. So, yeah, I went down and got to the bottom and I was alive. And I was like, all right, I remember how to do it. Like, they remember how to do it again. And both my boys picked up on snowboarding. And they took one lesson and grabbed it right away. So it was great. But Connor, he does both. My husband does both. But he actually, I think he broke his tailbone a few years ago because I challenged him on the hill, and we're both competitive.
Yeah.
And so it was the last run of the night. It's always the last run of the night. Like never, I don't know why he listened to me, but anyways, I was like, oh, you can go. It's fine. You'll be fine. And he was like, fine, I'll go. Like he was just like, at this point, we got on the lift and I get all the way to the bottom and I look halfway up and he's like on it, he's sitting down. And I was like, uh-oh. And then it gets down and he's like, I think I broke my tailbone. And I was like, oh shoot, why'd you do that last run? And he was like, because you kept challenging me and he can't let go of a challenge. So I don't do that anymore.
My friend Josh and I, we were skiing up at Bogus this
Mhm.
last year, and he's like, "Okay, 2 more runs, because the last run you always hurt yourself on, so
Yeah.
you always tell yourself 2 more
That's
runs.
a good point.
That way, you just end on that first one. That way, that's technically your last one,
Right.
but you have 2 more, so that way you don't actually do that last run.
Oh,
And
that's
that's
a
how
good
you save
point.
yourself, is what he told me. He's like, because he says the same thing. He's like, every time I say it's my last run, I hurt myself.
Yeah, it's so true.
So.
Oh man, okay, that's a good tip actually. I'm gonna have to start saying that. I haven't, knock on wood, I haven't been injured, but yeah, because that was his last run, and he was like, "This is my last run," and then next you know, I think his tailbone was broken. So I was like, "Oh, sorry," but that's also because we're both competitive, even with each other.
Yeah.
And so one of us is not gonna let the other one have bragging rights that will like you couldn't even make the last run, like you didn't even. So I've not messed with him about it because he's a little sensitive. Because it hurt pretty bad. But yeah, I mean he was snowboarding on that trip, so not skiing, but he does both.
My first time, well, so you're up in St. Anthony, so you know Kelly Canyon.
Oh yeah,
over there. The only time I've ever snowboarded was in Kelly Canyon.
Okay.
And there's a long cat track.
Yes,
down in the back and everything.
Yeah.
And I was just because we were at the bottom, so I'm just coasting,
walking,
and lots of people walk by. I had enough speed where I was going, and I was kind of carving back and forth, and I caught an edge, and I totally flipped, and I swear I broke my collarbone. But we got X-rays and everything. The doctor said it was just a sprain, but man, it hurt. After that, I tried to do like another run after that. I was like, I can't do this. So that was my only time ever snowboarding.
Well,
I have PTSD now.
I bet, yeah. I have never snowboarded, but I have broke my collarbone. My left collarbone broken, and that was in 4th grade. And I went to school. I was in 4th grade. I was in Idaho Falls, and we had snow. It was always snowy and always ice out on the playground. And so we used to line up and slide down on the ice, right? Well, that was one day I was sliding down on the ice, and one of my friends went to catch me, and I fell back and broke it.
Oh.
And my mom was working. She worked for a farm company, a fertilizer company at the time, and so she was like an office manager. So she was knee deep and getting ready for whatever they were doing. This is I think it was in February, but she left me at school for 2 hours, so I had to lay there for 2 hours because my mom was like, "Oh, you're fine. It's okay. Well, I'll be there as soon as I can." And she like come get me and then takes me to the X-rays right away, and they're like, "Oh, it's broken." And I was like, "Oh shoot, sorry, I left you at school." She was like, "I just thought you fell and didn't feel good, and I didn't realize it was broken." So I was like, "Oh," but I did break that on that, and I am like afraid of ice that way, but Kelly Canyon, that was we ski there all the time. But I actually went to ski at Pebble Creek, which is outside of Pocatello. And I did
not a fan of that place.
Yeah, I did not know how it's there's a lot of technical stuff, and it's a very
super steep.
And so it was like take some lessons there, and then I just thought it was like that. So that's what I learned. So Kelly Canyon to me, because we skied at Pebble and then we went over to Kelly Canyon. Kelly was like a bunny slope. The whole thing. Oh, yeah. It was like but I don't know. I just didn't really know the difference when you start skiing at Pebble Creek. And then all of a sudden you're like, now that I know that, another thing that I learned, there's so much I've learned ever since Pebble came back, but I didn't really know that Pebble was like as technical as it was. And then someone had told me that like a couple years ago, and now I'm actually afraid to go there because I wanted to go back and ski it, and my boys want to go, which I would take them, but part of me is like, no way. Like now it's all in my head. I want to go to Kelly because I think that's more my style now. It's just, cruising down and the back. I love that cat track at the back.
I remember the one time I went to Pebble Creek. Well, so my friends and I we were actually going to get an apartment in Pocatello. Like we were planning to move there and everything. So
Yeah.
my friend, his name is Tanner as well. So Tanner and I we were gonna buy what? No, we did buy some season passes to Pebble Creek.
Oh,
we're gonna live in Pocatello. We're gonna go there anyway.
Yeah.
And it didn't work out, so we ended up moving to Idaho Falls.
Okay.
And we only went to Pebble Creek once.
You were like,
and we spent 500. I think it was like 450 or something like that.
Wow.
To go ski Pebble Creek one time. It was the worst time I ever skied because when you get to the top, like all the trees look like just caked in snow and everything because it was like 6 degrees at the top.
Yeah.
So everything was super cold.
And half the time you can't even see the top.
Yeah.
Half the time, like if you're at the bottom, you can't see the top very often.
Yeah, it was super cold and just super icy and everything. And so I was not a fan of Pebble Creek at all. That's definitely on the bottom of my list.
Yeah, now I'm like totally afraid of it. So I'm like, I don't know. My kids want to ski it, but I'm more like, yeah, let's go to Kelly. I think that's like more my speed now. Bogus is cool. I love it's so nice here in the valley because you could just drive right up there, which I think is really accessible for people who maybe don't even want to spend their weekend skiing, right? They want to do it like they could do it right after work because it's literally 45 minutes away or so. So I love that, which is cool. And I love at nighttime. You can see the lights lit up there.
Oh yeah.
That's like one of my favorite things is when winter comes. And I mean, we lose a lot of sunlight. Like right now we have a ton of sunlight. But in the wintertime when it's so like I feel like it's just dark longer. It's dark longer. But at least I feel like looking at the lights up at Bogus gives me some like at 5 o'clock when it's dark out and there's lights on, I'm like, oh, Bogus is lights on. But Tamarack's nice one, and so is Brundage. But
I haven't done Brundage yet.
Those are more like, it's a whole day trip.
Yeah.
I mean, Bogus you can do a day, but you could also do half a day of Bogus and go home and do other things or whatever if you live here in the area. But Twin Falls has some good ones too, though, like Pomerelle, Magic Mountain, or I think it's called Magic Mountain or Magic Valley, but they've got some good ones too. There's a lot of good skiing stuff here, but Colorado has like really.
Yeah, Colorado is known for Vail. Like everybody talks about, like all the resorts are owned by Vail, and Vail's in Colorado, and so
they're like, I mean, that's like the best snow. Utah snow is.
Yeah, I hear Utah and Colorado
they got good.
Well, I hear Utah has better snow, but I feel like Colorado, other than like Park City, Utah, I hear Colorado is more popular for. At least just from what I hear.
That's what I've heard too. But man, the snow in Utah is just it's powder. Mm-hmm. It's like it's so nice. Like it's very, very nice. But Colorado, I don't know. But I think Colorado has higher peaks too. Mm-hmm. So
yeah. So in Colorado, it's known, or they call them the 14ers.
Okay.
They got 52 mountains over there that are above 14,000 feet in elevation.
52 mountains with
52 of them.
Wow.
I don't even know if Utah has a 14er. Idaho definitely doesn't. Mount Bora
is 12,600, so 12,600.
Oh, is that what Bora is? Mm-hmm. Oh, I thought it was 13,000, but so it's almost a 2,000 foot difference from Idaho to Colorado mountains.
Yeah, no, it's 12,662 or maybe, but 12,006, and then right next to it is the second highest at 12,001. So those are the highest. Those are the two highest peaks in Idaho.
Oh dang!
But we have a ton of them. I wish I knew the number like you do for your 52. But we have a ton that are over 10,000. Mm-hmm. I do know that if you take Idaho and you flatten it, like all the mountains that we do have, and you flatten it, it's larger than the state of Texas.
Oh really?
So we do have a lot of peaks. They're just not over 14,000, obviously. Yeah. But yeah, it's a large. It can be large. We have a lot of mountains here. I mean, we have a big chunk of the Rocky Mountains that runs, on that eastern border there. Which is really cool. I mean, technically Bogus is kind of part of all of that too, but.
So I was did a one-on-one with Connor the other week.
Yeah.
He told me he's big into hiking. Do you go hiking with him and everything too?
Or? Yeah. He hikes and hunts. I don't go hunting with him, but in fact, we just went hiking on Sunday. Went out to Blue Lake.
Where's that at?
So if you go you're gonna go to Cascade.
Okay.
So there's Smith's Ferry and then there's Cascade. It's about halfway, and then you go to you basically start heading west.
Yeah.
there's a road that you'll take, and actually there's a put in there for a lot of rafters, and you drive all the way to the top, and then you hike down 1 mile. So it's kind of weird. Like you're up at the very top,
Mhm.
and you got to hike down, and then you're on the lake, and then you obviously have to hike back out. But
Yeah.
hiking down was like, oh, this is great, and it's beautiful. Like it's so beautiful. And then, yeah, and then you have to hike back out, and then you're like, oh, it's really steep down there.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we both love hiking because we both love being in the woods. I would take the mountains over the ocean. So that's always like a question, especially with like a lot of people that live here that
Mhm.
are from California or the coastal states. That's always a question, and they do miss the ocean. But I can say I honestly don't miss the ocean because I'm definitely more of a mountain person.
Yeah.
I love the mountains. I could like be up there all like I didn't want to leave. And I hung out. We fished too, so he was fishing, fly fishing. I just had my rod or my reel with my reel on it, and we had fun doing that. And but yeah, we both love hiking. And I'm a hot springs person though, so we're up there. We had reception the whole time we were
Yeah.
there. So the whole time I'm like trying to like go through all my hot springs and trying to see if I could find one that's close that I could like hike to, because I love the hot springs here. We have so many of them, a couple hundred.
Lava is my favorite one just because
Oh,
there's tons of space over there. We went to,
love that
is
place.
it called Warm? There's something,
Is
there's
it
a
by
hot,
lava?
no, there's a hot springs that we just went up to a couple weeks ago near Cascade.
Okay, was it Trail Creek?
Maybe.
Did you how did what did it, did you have to hike? Did you like park and then hike down to it? Did you take Warm Lake Road?
Yes.
And then you park in this. It's basically on the right hand side, and then you have to kind of walk
Yeah, it's like
down.
super steep.
Yeah,
Like, yeah.
yeah.
Is that what it is?
That's called Trail Creek.
So yeah, we went there and
What'd you think?
it was fun, but there's only like two pools and you can only fit like 10 people in each pool.
Oh,
So
how many people did you guys have? Do you guys have a big round?
well, we had with us because it was me, my wife, my in-laws, and then my sister-in-law and
Okay.
her husband and their three kids. So whatever that had, 10 of us or
Okay,
something.
so that was you guys filled the pool.
Yeah, but everybody else wanted to go at the same time
Oh,
too. And
okay.
so,
There's that too. Yeah.
So that was the
Yeah.
annoying part is we had to wait out there for like 15, 20 minutes until people got out, and then we had to sneak in before anybody.
Oh,
before anybody.
I'm one of those like we went there in October. I've been there a few times since then, but I went in October, and literally like the pool that I wanted, someone was like people were in it, and then they
Yeah.
were leaving, so we were kind of using like the makeshift pool. And Trail Creek's high right now. The creek's high, so there's also a few big pools, but there's some other smaller springs too when the water's a lot lower.
Oh.
They're just not exposed because
I
the
didn't know
water's
that.
high. Yeah. So it totally influx. So, anyways, but we were sitting in this one area, and the group left, and I'm literally running down the trail with no shoes on, like trying to get. I wanted to get that pool reserved, like as I was trying to get everybody, like, come on, come on, come on, come on, like, hurry up! But I'm like wanted that pool, and I'm like the person that gets in the pool, and I'm like trying to like put my arms out and act like I'm like taking over the whole area. But yeah, that one's a really good one. I've done that in the winter time where we had to bring in spikes for our shoes.
Yeah.
And we hiked into that because that gets a lot of snow. And then I actually just went there. Ooh, maybe it was March. I think it was so covered in snow, so we had to hike into it. And one of the people fell and slid down it. And,
Oh shoot.
Oh yeah, so it was like I mean, I don't know. It's all part of it, but
Yeah.
that's all part of the hot springs experience. There's a couple out there that are wild that you can hike to, and um, Sacagawea Hot Springs is a great hot springs too. That one's on like going towards like out past Lowman.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are so many, and some of them are just like they're so fun, and it's so cool. I love taking kids there. Every time we have people come visit us, like a few times a year, we have family and friends come visit us from out of state, and I have like a heat gun, so it's like you point it at the water and it tells you how hot it is,
Oh, yeah.
right? I'm that person that shows up, right? In fact, when we went to Trail Creek where that person fell down, it was a
Yeah.
girls' trip.
Yeah.
And one of the girls I knew, the other two I knew them, but like they I got to know them a little bit more. But I'm like, yeah, he can, and I literally pull it out, and one of the women's like, "You're not joking," and I'm like, "This thing comes in handy," and then like I'm pointing at the water, and it said like 103 or whatever, and so just gives you
Yeah.
comfort. But I love to take kids who have never seen a hot springs before because it's so amazing that the earth can like produce like hot water, right? You think water and you think, oh, it's just going to be cold. So it's really, really fun. That thing's also really fun at Yellowstone. Like I took the Yellowstone. We had a group of us that went on a trip, and the kids all kind of were teasing me because they were like, "Why would you bring that? That's kind of tacky." And I was like, "You'll see." And we were walking through Yellowstone, and I'm pointing at the mud and the water and the geysers, and all the kids are watching me. And they're like, "Can I try it?" And I was like, "Sure, you can try it." And so they loved it because, and even the big kids that were like 20 years old are walking around with them. So, anyways, it's just fun to show them like how cool. I mean, Idaho is like the coolest. It's so cool here.
I love Idaho.
I mean, everybody knows because it's been discovered.
Everybody wants to come. I saw a video today. I should send it to you, but it was a video of this guy who's showing the map of the U.S. and he purposely switched Iowa and Idaho so that way people would. Be like, it was all a joke, but he's like, go check out Idaho. We got corn and everything over there, farm field. Well, we got farm fields here too, but he's all joking around about that. He's like, you don't want to go to Iowa. We don't got anything fun over there.
Well, when I first moved here, I had a shirt like that. Yeah. That had that, and I was at a store, and some guy actually was like super offended at it.
Really?
And I was like, okay, so I'm like, you must not be from here. And the reason why I say that is because you're thinking I'm saying, oh, you're not welcome, move someplace else, right? But when you're from Idaho and you are for your whole life, people can't tell apart Idaho from Iowa and Ohio. That's like a thing when you leave, like, I don't know how many times in my life someone has said, Riane, aren't you from Ohio? And I'm like, no, Idaho. And Ohio starts with an O, by the way. Like, that's not even the same. Or Iowa and Idaho are not the same. Or people would say, I don't even know where Idaho is. And it's like, it's literally in California, right? It's literally like a state over. Like, it's not even that far. So as an Idahoan, it was funny because it was like people think all the time we live in Iowa, but we live in Idaho. This person took it as, oh, you're saying that I should move. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about, but it's a joke. Maybe it's an inside joke.
Yeah.
But my friends that were from Idaho all got it because we're like, oh, right. But I did tell them that this is how Idaho totally got on the map, like about, I don't know, maybe a year before we moved here. Because I was talking to somebody and I said, oh, I'm from Idaho. And for 17 years, people had no idea where that was. I don't know why. They just don't know where Idaho is. And somebody said, oh, I've been to Idaho. My brother lives there. And I was like, it was the first time in 17 years that someone actually knew where I was from. And then it just went crazy, So it was like, okay, it's been discovered. Now, if you go to California, everybody knows where Idaho is because most likely you have someone here that lives here, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's definitely, the person was kind of offended by the shirt. And I was just like, it's kind of a joke, but I'm sorry if you were thinking, I don't know.
I think some people just take offense.
Yeah, I know. I was like, it's not
silliest things.
It's just because it's funny. And yes, Ohio, like, that was the best one. And I'm like, Ohio starts with an O, everybody. Idaho starts with an I. And they're like, it sounds the same. I'm like, Ohio? I don't know. But
so, Riane, tell me about your typical day. Like, with working with ServiceMasters, like, what's your typical day like?
So my personal typical day, working in with marketing and what I do, is my day usually starts out, usually there's a meeting or a coffee or something that I'm going to be doing. I'll go through emails and text messages. I have a phone with me pretty much 24/7. It is not linked to our 24-hour line. We do have a 24-hour line, but you could call me at 2 in the morning. I might be sleeping, but anyway, so I'm always kind of answering messages as they come through anyways, but I'll respond to any text messages, follow up, check-ins, and then from there I go out into our community, and I'm either meeting with insurance agents primarily, working with people in the community as far as outreach as how we can better assist people with what we do. And then usually there's there could be a time for lunch and all that stuff. And then I do all of our content creation for our Facebook and getting ready for bigger events. Like we just kind of helped an agent because they did their grand opening. So there's some prep that goes with that. I'm going to be doing a home show in October, which will be 3 days. So there's always like a prep work for that. So my day is always just how to grow our company. That's pretty much my job. on the internal side with some of the outside sales. That's kind of my job. Their job looks very different. In the morning, every morning there's a big powwow that happens
Yeah.
for all of our staff, the techs, and then they get briefed on everything they're going to do, and then they disperse and they go out and they take care of all the things they need to take care of. And of course, we have current stuff that we're working on, stuff that we're wrapping up, and then of course every day the phone rings and we got something new we have to do. So it's a very that you do not get bored.
It's always
There's
they
always
keep you on
something.
your toes.
They do keep you on your toes, and you're always all over the valley, and but it's nice because it's different. Every day is different. So yeah.
What's the most rewarding part of your job?
I love it when we hear that our customers experience as they're going through something like a loss on their property, right? Whether it's covered by insurance. So I don't want to say it's always a claim because sometimes it's not a claim, but whatever the loss is, they are having a good experience with it. And so when we follow back through with them and say, hey, like, how's everything going? And they're like, yeah, it's going great. Like, I think to me that's the most rewarding because it means that it means that, one of the owners, he does all our estimating, he does our inspections and estimating, and then once he does that and we bring in our techs and we start the process getting their house back to normal, which sometimes can be fast and sometimes can be months. But when you hear a customer who is literally like has had water in their house, the walls are ripped out, a fire, and they're like, it's going good. Like, I love hearing that because it means that we're all working together as a team to get these guys back to normal. Because if anybody has ever had experience like that in their life, whether it's water or fire or any damage to the property that needed to be worked on, it really is not a fun process. So I love it when they smile and they say it's going good, and you're like, really, you don't have any walls? And they're like, I know, but it's going really good, So that's the most rewarding thing, is helping people get through that process and them feeling like they know what the next step is, instead of feeling like they're lost in the mix of it.
Are there any sort of misconceptions people have about working with a company like ServiceMasters?
Yeah, I think there's a misconception that we want to go in there and do all this extra work. Like, people think like, oh, that doesn't need to be done. And for instance, in a case of like mold's like funny. I mean, we like in any job, we all have a weird sense of humor, right? So, and when you're in, doing restoration, you have your sense of humor is a little different. But mold, I always joke, goes like everywhere. Like, it can, right? If you don't get control of it, it can go everywhere. And so what you don't want is to have a certain spot that when you open up a wall and there's some mold there, right?
Yeah.
I'm just going to use mold as an example because you can kind of see it.
Yeah.
And they go, that's all I want, right? And it's like, well, we need to rip back more to see. And they're like, there's this misconception that we want to do more work, right? And that's not, we got to fix it, right? So we have to be sure that we can say when we got all the mold that we got all the mold, right? Not being like, okay, well, we cleaned up this one area. So there's always this misconception that restoration companies want to come in there and do more. So we want to just do whatever we need to do to get you back. But that does require sometimes looking like you're really ripping out like the whole wall. And that actually did happen in my own personal house. We had water in our house. It came from the upstairs bathroom down to our master. The whole lid of our master closet had to come out. And if you looked at it, like, if I didn't know, hence I work in restoration, I also have my insurance license. So I actually wrote my own insurance policies when I worked in insurance before this. And my husband, Connor, is a contractor. Obviously, I like the three best scenarios. Like, I know what that looks like. And of course, I am thinking, I'm like, oh, do we really have to rip this whole thing out? And water just kind of ran along the beam. So yeah, if we just taken where the water had come out of, sure, we could have done that. But once we ripped off all of it, we could see that water had tried to go through other light fixtures or down other wires. And so we want to make sure all of that got nice and dried so it didn't create mold later, right? So that's a misconception that I think that people think that we want to do more. And it's really, we want it done right. So that way you're not calling us in 5 years and saying it's not done. There's more mold or whatever.
Yeah. So what's the craziest story that's happened, or the craziest thing you've seen? And did you say the other day you saw like someone someone like drove their car through their house or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. There was like someone drove their car into the house. That was on the news, and we actually heard about it, and then of course we get the call at the same time because
Yeah.
we know the insurance agent. But yeah, I mean that one's that's there's some crazy ones. There's some ones that I can't even talk about. Like if that's even like if
Oh, really?
yeah, because they're crazy stories, and I don't want to like expose like too much. So let me
Yeah.
think of one I can say. And but I've been working in it for a year and a half, but I have 3 years prior in insurance
Yeah.
that I've been dealing with claims and stuff that I've seen. And but gosh, I don't know, probably the craziest one other than a car going into the house. I've seen that. I've actually seen that several times. Which
Oh, really?
yeah, actually, like actually taking out this one when I was in insurance, but it took out a whole brick wall. They went through the brick
Oh,
wall
shoot.
into the house. Yeah, like one of those half brick walls.
Yeah.
But still, they punched it through.
Oh, yeah.
So we kind of think like, mold and fire and smoke damage and hail damage and wind damage, but we don't think about also cars going into buildings, right? That is nothing that's such a fluke, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hope you're not in the living room. And no one, knock on wood, all the times I've heard of it, no one's ever been in the same room when the car came into the house. But that is probably those are probably the weirdest ones, I think, just because it's like hail is very predictable. We're like, oh, it's hailing, probably gonna get some claims. Oh, we got snow, heavy snow, melt, freeze, ice dams. Like a lot of it's kind of predictable, if you will. But I think the cars are probably the most shocking. Um, and then fires. I think we had that one fire
Mm-hmm.
that sometimes they accidentally start fires, and they don't. It's really sad. They don't mean to. It happens, and they had isn't there fire? Is a fireplace fire? Get your chimneys cleaned.
Is there well, especially with it being hot out,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, well, we just see a lot of forest fires during the summer,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
is there like one main thing that you see that causes house fires and
In the
things like that?
summertime.
Well, just in
Oh, in
general, like,
general? Well, I think in the summer it's different per season for
oh,
sure.
really?
Yeah, yeah. Well, like in the wintertime, fireplaces, people who use indoor heaters, because maybe they don't have a fireplace, or maybe their heater's not working or
Mm-hmm.
something like that, or they haven't had it serviced or it just doesn't work. They'll use an electric heater, those, because you got to give them enough space, right? Plus they set them on carpet, right? Like that can do it.
Yeah.
Um, in the summertime, barbecuers, yeah, that they'll tell people do not have your barbecue up against your house. Like I've seen, there's a fire like that happened up against the house, sparked up, went into like the eave, right,
Mm-hmm.
little from a Traeger,
Yeah.
and started the attic on fire. So
Oh, shoot.
yeah, I was in insurance at that time. I called Connor right away, and I was like, "You need to move the barbecue away from the house." And he was at home, and he's like, "What happened?" And I was like, "Just I'll explain to you later, but like we can't have the barbecue next house." But anyways, that's pretty common because it's up against it and all that heat. But when we did remove our barbecue away from the house, though, it definitely left a line. Like you could tell, like the heat had already started on the paint. So that's one, and then but a fluke one. This has happened. The dog got up. A bigger dog got up to lick, like someone had left a thing of food, like I don't know whatever it was, mac and cheese. Dog got up and hit the
Oh,
stove and turned the stove on, and
oh,
that's
shoot.
fire. That was a fire that started. So yeah, I mean, like it's we're about like so on my Facebook page, on our Facebook page, we're about prevention too, right? Like
Yeah.
people think like, oh, because we're talking about like move your barbecue away from your house, don't use a heater, but that has blankets and carpet around it, be good about that. I mean, cars in your house is such a fluke, but obviously can't prevent that necessarily. But we're about preventing just as much because we still want to educate people on like how to help themselves, right? Like if you have a water leak, call us right away. Don't wait, because maybe we can catch it before mold starts.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
But things like that happen, right? The dog starts a fire, a car runs into the house, like a heater, an air, like all these things, and so that'll always happen. It will always happen. So we
Yeah.
like to tell people as much as possible, like here's the things you can watch out for. Hail, can't prevent that. I mean, that's just an act of God on that one. Wind, you make sure your house is in good shape, but the wind comes up in those big gusts, have a roofer. Your roof should be inspected, right?
Yeah.
Your roof should be inspected so that way you can make sure you don't have any loose, because the wind does come up and move that around, and luckily it stays in place. But having a roofer get up there and double check and make sure that everything is, intact after big windstorm is what you can do. But
and we got a roofer in our B&I group, Raymond. So if anybody knows, anybody needs help with their roofs, let us know.
Yeah, have him get up there. He'll inspect it. And
oh yeah, super nice guy.
Yeah, super nice guy to let you know, hey, this and that. And it's so much better if you can like replace a few shingles, because they got damaged maybe from a hailstorm or a windstorm or whatever, the sun, versus having, a huge leak in your house because, you could replace that. So, our properties are our investment, right? So we seem to think like, oh, we buy a house and we just live in it. And it's like, no, they are work. They are work. And that's probably one of the best ways. And I think that what we find in our company is a lot of us do a lot of work on our houses because, we check stuff. We check our gutters. We have our roofs inspected. We have our, same with like our dryer vents cleaned.
Yeah.
We have our HVAC systems cleaned. Like we do a lot of stuff on our houses because we want to preserve as much as possible. Plus, if something does happen, because like I said, freak accident happen all the time. But if you can prevent as much as you can't prevent everything, but just have your property, so that when that windstorm comes up and it takes everything, you're like, I'm good. I got all my stuff nailed down and everything looks great. And but yeah, I think it's a big deal to maintain your property. It's a lot of work.
Oh yeah.
And I know some people like just don't because
it's
like it's work and it
plenty
costs
of those
money.
Houses.
Costs money, yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. So yep. But
so what sets you guys apart from all the other restoration companies? Because I feel like every week I hear about a new restoration company. There's a lot here in the Church Valley. So what sets you guys apart from the rest?
Okay. So what sets us apart from the rest is I think that, well, a few things. One, Chris and Justin own our franchise one, right? It's a franchise. ServiceMaster Restore franchise. And just the heart and soul that they put into that, into training their guys. Christopher goes out and talks with the clients. We always have an owner on the site. Like every time there is an owner there. So he's always there. He's usually the first face that they see. So that gives a lot of just that alone, them knowing that the owner is showing up, listening to them. And he is phenomenal. The first time I ever was around him, I went with him the first few months I was here. And I had been sending them out for years, for the years I was at insurance. And watching him with customers, I was like just blown away. He's so caring and really truly just lets them talk it out and get through. There's a lot of emotion that happens when you have a loss on your property. Some it's like, oh, this is annoying, and some it's heartbreaking because they might lose pictures and family heirlooms and fires, and it's really challenging for them. And he walks through that so with them, and then they always leave knowing what the next step is, right? So the communication is a really big deal. They know what's coming next, who's coming next, when they're coming next, and when they leave, what the next step is. So we kind of walk them through the whole process, and we are there from the time it happens, whatever that might be, all the way we can go through rebuild process with them. So I'm not going to say necessarily turnkey because they have access to their property, right? Some of them live in the house while we're renovating, while we're doing some stuff. But that's another thing is that we're there from the beginning to the very end, and then having the cell phone number of the owner, because he's really good at saying, I just told you a lot of information, probably might not remember everything I just said. And this is my phone number. This is my cell phone. You can call me, and I will tell you everything I just said. Because in some cases, they can't hear it. Yeah. There was one house we did had a fire, and in their 80s, and the pictures were just. It was actually crazy how the pictures got preserved, because we also clean contents as well. We do that part of it. So stuff that's smoke damaged, and we can come in and we can clean it for them. Hopefully, in some cases, it can't be cleaned. But anyways, pictures that's irreplaceable, right? Especially ones that are, 60 years old. A lot of times it's not on a DVD, CD, no hard drive. No, they're just an actual photo, right? So when you see stuff like that, right, and they're not thinking, like they're just, everything to them is a mess. And so, anyways, he's so good about giving out, he gets his phone number and he says, you call me and I'll go over everything all over again, because he understands that it's traumatic. It really, truly is. And going from a traumatic situation to a positive situation is like, oh, that's like gold. It's gold for us. We love it every day. But yeah, I think that's what sets us apart, is that just the role that the owners have in on it, and how much they really care, and how much we can take them from one side to the other, and it'd be just a great experience. If the house fire could be a great experience, that's what it's going to be with us.
Did you also tell me that you guys are a preferred vendor?
We are, yeah. So we're a preferred vendor for insurance companies, which means we have a certain way that we um, charge out for things, right? Air movers, products, stuff like that. So, which means we can't go and charge like a lot of money for things, right? We have a baseline that we go by. And so it works really well for insurance companies because, right, we all pay into insurance. They have to answer to the insured and to, that whole side of it. So if they could keep the cost lower, and it doesn't mean it's not done correct. It's done wonderfully. It's just the cost, the markup is different.
Yeah.
So being preferred vendor, we get to do that. So the other part is for situations where people don't want to file a claim, the insurance isn't involved in it. Being a preferred vendor means that when you use us, that you are going to get a different cost than maybe if you were to go outside of a preferred vendor, because we are held to a standard whether we charge insurance or not. And the cost is the cost. It's just flat. Like, that's not flat, but just like that's what it is, right? So I know there's like certain companies, not restoration but auto body, they'll actually give you a deal if you go through insurance or if you go through cash, or they'll do different things, right? And so we don't get to do a cash deal. The cost of an air mover is the cost of an air mover. It's pretty flat.
Well, so I do health insurance, and so it's kind of the same. If you have the doctor bill insurance, they charge more.
Yeah.
But if you self-pay with cash, they usually give you a discount.
Yeah. Which, man, I could talk about that experience too. Like that's a whole other podcast, but man, that is so true. And there are some cases where that totally can work in healthcare for sure. And I've taken advantage of that for sure. Paying cash, like, why have cash? All of a sudden it's like a whole nother cost. And I'm like, what the heck? But yeah, because we're a preferred vendor, it's just flat across the board. Mm. So we can't say, oh, well, you're paying cash, we'll cut you a deal here. It's like, no, because then the insurance companies, they would look at that like, well, why don't you cut us that deal then, right? But then also, if like myself, when I had that loss in my house, I did not file a claim for that. And, I paid the same price that an insurance company would pay. Yeah, which is nice. Mm-hmm. It just felt the same on that. And that it works. So
what's the most important aspect of customer service in your opinion?
Listening to your customer. Listening to them. Yeah. Hearing what their needs are, because we assume we know what people want and what they're looking for, right? Like calling for healthcare. I want to get healthcare, right? That you hear. But until you ask the next questions, I'm like, well, how old are you? Do you have any children? Are you on a limited income? Are you already, are you sick now? Like, there's so many questions that you have to go into. So those are obviously questions you're going to ask, but sometimes people don't like to give you all the information up front. They need you to like work them through it, right? So I think customer service, and I worked customer service since I was 15 years old, and all different jobs of my life. But I love customer service. It's like my favorite thing ever. And listening to them and hearing them, because I think we've all assumed someone wanted something or needed something. And when we got to the bottom of it, we learned that we were totally wrong. And it could have been diverted if we just would have listened to what they were trying to ask. And sometimes they don't even know what they want. And that's why, listening to them and hearing their story, going, oh gosh, you can help them better when you hear that. Because like all of a sudden you'll hear things like, okay, maybe you're this young, but you're retiring, for insurance, you're retiring in a year. Yeah. That's good to know. You're retiring with $5 million, or you're retiring with nothing. That's very different, people that you're dealing with. So, but they don't want to tell you that at the beginning because they don't trust you usually, right? Once they learn to trust you, they'll tell you all kinds of stuff. Yeah. And then you can really help them. So listening is like the biggest piece of customer service, actually hearing them.
So do you guys have any sort of like warranties or guarantees when someone chooses you guys? Because
Mm-hmm.
I have a friend who does um, what you guys do too.
Yeah.
He has his own company.
Yeah.
And I've talked to him. He's like, and he talks about how there's usually a couple of people bidding on the property.
Yeah.
Or on the job, I should say,
Yeah.
whatever. Um, is there something like, do you guys have a guarantee where if you work with us, then we'll guarantee this, or have a
Mhm.
warranty for our service or rebuilding or whatever it is?
Well, we would, I mean, anything comes up, we want you to call us back, right? I mean, we would warranty anything we did. Like if
Yeah.
we messed something up, we would. As far as a warranty on like things like, and I know what you're talking about, like, I mean, anything we do now, if something else happens, we warranty our service, yes, for
Yeah.
that part, yes. Now, if we're in the bedroom and there was a house fire and we take care of it and we do all the things,
But then
and then the kitchen starts on fire,
completely
obviously
different.
that's totally different, right? So
Yeah.
the services that we offer in that area, yeah. And if there's any issues, we've gone back out. If a customer's not happy and they say like this isn't right, or we go back out, we would fix it. But we haven't really had a ton of that, which is good. Which means we did it all, it cleared everything, and the customers feel super relieved. But yes, we would go back out there and fix whatever. And obviously, we subcontract out for like our plumbers. Like we don't have an in-house plumber, so we sub that out. So obviously, our plumbers have their own warranty with like their work, right? Our
Yeah.
electricians have their warranties, so those would fall underneath them. But
Yeah.
they would come back to us and say, "Hey, the plumbing's faulty." We would get our plumber out there, and the plumber would
Yeah.
put underneath them. Yeah. So yeah.
So how do you guys handle customer complaints or issues that rise? Because I'm pretty sure not every job goes
Perfectly.
perfectly or
Yeah.
smooth or
Yeah.
anything like that. How do you guys handle those complaints?
Well,
Every business gets complaints.
I know, right? We don't get complaints. I'm just kidding. We actually don't get a ton, which is really good. And I think because of it is, we're bringing something back to normal, right? Versus, um, maybe starting from something, ripping it down, and putting it back. Like usually by the time we get to it, it's pretty badly damaged. So they're getting a brand new wall. They're getting brand new flooring. They're getting all these things, right? But in the case of like they're unhappy, we definitely listen to what's going on. We go back, and if they're questioning something of our work, or they're questioning costs, we go back through all of that and basically work with them and come to a compromise on like, well, what do we think we need to do. Honestly, if they're so unhappy with their flooring and it's the wrong flooring, but they know all that because we're walking through the whole process with them. That's another part of it too. I think that why we don't get a ton of complaints is because they don't walk in the house and all of a sudden they're like, whoa, this is nothing like I thought it was. Like they're through the whole process. So it would get noticed right away, right? Like, oh gosh, this is the wrong color of walls, right? It's like, it would get noticed very quickly. So in that case, I think it's just talking to them and working through it. And obviously we would make it right, but listening to them as well and what their needs are and what they want, what they were thinking. But yeah, I don't know. But yeah, it's such a step-by-step process that usually they've already said it before we can even open the box up.
Yeah.
Which is great. Yeah.
Do you guys do any like after job support or anything? Like, do you guys like check on the customer in like 90 days, whatever, to just make sure everything's all good? Or do you guys do anything similar?
Yeah. Just call and check in, make sure that they're happy, make sure if they have any other questions. Also, if anything else comes up, please let us know. And then, like I said, we give them a magnet that they keep on their fridge. They also have Chris's cell phone number, who is the owner. And then, we, other than just asking and see, it's all good. But most of the time, like 99% of the time, I'm trying to think of a time where like somebody said, no, it's not good.
Yeah.
Like most of the time they're like, yeah, it's going really, really great actually. And they're super, super happy. There's also a time too where we do a lot of upgrades.
Yeah.
So
I was going to ask you that.
Yeah. So in a case where like the kitchen, there was a fire, we always present it to them that, hey, this is an opportunity. Do you want to upgrade anything? They have to pay the difference, obviously, but there's always that opportunity because that's a good time to do it because your house is literally, you have no cabinets. So it's like, well, if you want to do it, now's the time. Some people are like, no, I only want to do whatever insurance is going to pay for, or I want to do just the basic. that's fine. Or like for like, and that's totally fine. In some cases, they're like, actually, now that we're doing this, we might as well upgrade the cabinets and the countertops, and they just pay the difference. So there's always that option in there too. Once it goes from we're done with cleaning it up to our rebuild department,
Yeah.
and that team, yeah, they'll sit with them and say like, well, what are we looking at? And again, as far as like what we helping them through the process, I mean, they're getting to choose now their cabinets, and they're getting to choose that, right? So it's kind of cool to watch that process, because sometimes it's the closest that they'll get to like upgrading like their kitchen or
Yeah.
carpet or whatnot. They just pay the difference, but that happens often, actually. Yeah.
Ryan, you're a pretty happy person. You just every time I see you, you're just all super happy. Everything. What makes you so happy? What makes you a happy person?
Oh my gosh. I don't know. I'm just genuinely happy because I feel like every day is a new day, and I feel like I try my hardest to like make it like the best day, better than yesterday. Like I think like my whole life has been that way. So I always think of like, gosh, the sun is up, which ironically I love sunrises over sunsets, even though I don't like waking up early. So
Yeah.
I would never like get up early to watch the sunrise. But to me, when the sun rises, it's like it's a brand new day. And if every day you make it better than it was yesterday, then I only think that like it's like a billion times better than it was 10 years ago. Because it's like every day is just better and better and better. So I don't know, I thought there's a lot to like be grateful for. And I don't know, I love my life, and I don't know. I'm just happy. I don't know. There's like so much to be happy for.
What motivates you to keep going on those days that you're just feeling down or having a rough day? Or...
Well, the easy answer would be definitely my kids, because I think that's what everybody says. But I think
I don't. Yeah, I don't got
yeah.
one yet.
Oh, okay. Well, someday you will, and she'll be
Next
the
month.
reason. Yeah, she'll be the reason why you do everything. But aside from those people who I love so much, um, I would say just I give myself a lot of grace. I think that's one of my favorite words is grace, and giving grace. I give a lot of grace to other people as well, because we all don't know each other's battles or what's going on. Even the happiest person in the world can have battles that they're fighting and we don't know. And I try really hard to give myself that, because I do know what's going on for myself, and to say, you give everyone else grace. Like give yourself grace today, because you need it. This is whatever you're struggling with, right? Whether it's just I hate it when it's dark. Um, I like in the summertime when it's sunny like all the time.
Yeah.
But like I'll get down on myself when like in like February, when I'm like, oh, I hate the darkness, and now like that'll set me off to the point of like I'm just in a bad mood because it's dark, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's just giving myself grace, and then learning from if it was something that I did that I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have done that, I messed up or whatever. I will be the first to admit that I am not shy to admit when I'm at fault.
Yeah.
Or I didn't do something, or apologize, because
Yeah.
I think that I don't know. I think it's good when we do that. I wish more people did that too, but it's okay if they don't. I just give them grace. Like, I don't know.
I love it.
That's part of this, just who I am.
Okay, so last two questions before we wrap this up.
Yeah.
What's your favorite quote?
I don't know if I have a favorite quote.
Or what's one that just sticks out to you that you think of a lot?
Okay, I know what it is. Okay, my favorite quote, and I've said this for years, and I'm so glad I'm remembering it now, because I was like, I've been prepared for this moment forever. Is there's no such thing as luck. It's only good timing. I love that, because people say you're so lucky, and I'm like, it's only timing. That's all it is. There's no luck in this world. It's just, what is your timing? And yeah, that's like my favorite quote, I think.
Good one.
Yeah.
So if someone wanted to get hold of you, do a 101, just chat with you, call you at 2 a.m. What's the best way to get hold of you? They
can always call or text. My phone number is 208-546-1236. You can also go on Facebook. We have our Facebook page, ServiceMaster. ServiceMaster, I think it's, I can't remember right now. I wish I could remember it. But it's under ServiceMaster. It's in Nampa. What is it called?
So if you look that up on Facebook, will come up like ServiceMaster Nampa. What did you guys come
No, so it's ServiceMaster. I think it's fire and water cleanup. Water and fire cleanup, I think it is. That's a good question.
We'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah, put it in the notes because I'm like, I can't remember. It's like kind of long, and I didn't make the name up, so I'm like, that's our name. It's so long, but that would be the best way, like, to find us, and then and always to contact, like, through that, because I have all them come to my phone, so I can see all the messages on there, and to like it and share stuff, and it's a great place to just get education on how to prevent things, right? Like, we've got 4th of July next week. So I'll be doing a whole week of, firework preparedness.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I mean, there's going to be another side probably about, don't hurt yourself, but fireworks cause fires all week long, whether it's in your field or in your house or in your garbage can. That's like a big, big thing. People put fireworks in their garbage can and start their house on fire. Don't do that. Put them in water and leave them there overnight in the water, so that way they can. So anyways, all week long I'll be doing tips on how to not burn your house down, how to not start a fire.
I'll be looking forward to those tips.
Yeah, you do. And buddy, if you have a house fire, give us a call. But hopefully, hopefully these tips will prevent that. So,
one question I just thought to you: what's a good referral for you? What's someone you want to connect with? Something that can help you guys in your business grow.
Well, insurance agents are like, I love talking to insurance agents. So I worked in insurance, so I have my insurance license. And I geek out on insurance. Like, I think I'm a person in BNI that when our insurance agents talk, I'm like, I can't wait for the insurance presentation. Like, everyone else is like, oh, insurance. And I'm like, no, it's going to be so fun. We're going to learn about insurance because I love insurance.
Yeah.
I love learning about it and talking about it. So insurance agents are like really, truly like who I want to connect with. And, but really anybody who wants education on this, even if it's just, somebody who wants to talk about it or they're curious or just anybody who wants to talk about that and get more education on it, because the more that you can stay educated on how to look for things or how to stop things, and the better off that you will be. Because when that one fluke does happen, and it will to all, including myself, having water, like, who would have known I would have had a sort of bathtub leaking? Like, I didn't plan for that. I'm very good about my house. I've got all the things checked off, but there was a hole in the tub. Like, how do you know to check for a hole in your tub? Like, do I check that every day? Like, what does that look like, right? So no matter what I do, all these tips and all the tips and tricks of everything, I had a hole in the tub upstairs and it caused water. So no matter what, right? But insurance agents, I love talking to them, and anybody who just wants education on restoration and things they can do to prevent it, or if they have a question on their house, right? I always tell people, I talk about BNI. You got that one spot up there in the ceiling that's kind of brown. I'm going to tell you, it will not go away. And it's either going to be water that was there, could be a mouse that was there. Like, we've seen some stuff. But I tell people, like, don't ignore it, because it will cause a problem later. And it's better just to get on it, get it done, be done. It'll be so much more quicker than
be proactive rather than reactive.
Right, than being like, wow, this is my floor is falling through, right? So I probably should have it looked at. And it's like, yeah, but you had water on your floor 5 years ago, right? So it's like, but yeah. So insurance agents and anybody who wants education on restoration, and so yeah.
Perfect. So thanks again for coming on. So if you guys want to talk with Riane at all, just reach out to her. She won't bite. At least she hasn't bitten me yet. And then if you guys want to be interviewed on the podcast, just reach out. Love to have you. Want to do as many of these as we can. That way we can get more businesses promoting themselves within the Treasure Valley. So thanks again, and we'll talk to you later.
All right.
See you guys.
Thank you.